Hello and welcome to the third revival attempt of the GBA Temp podcast, otherwise known as the Tempcast. Today we have Meteor 7.
Hello.
Frozen Indignation.
Hi.
And Halo Elite Legend.
Hi.
And of course myself. And we're going to be just talking about topics, whether it be game news, scene news, anything. And we hope you guys enjoy. And the first topic we're going to be discussing is the Nintendo stock, where we've seen a drastic decline in their stock despite the success of the Switch.
Right. And they recently called a shareholders meeting to kind of address that, and that was pretty much, we have a Q&A summary here, and that was pretty much the topic of every question that they asked was, how are you handling the stocks, and how are you going forward to try and make the monies? And it's just, but one of the more interesting things they kind of addressed in here was, who was it? Let me scroll down to that. It was Takahashi, was it Takahashi? They said they're going to be releasing 20 to 30 Nintendo Switch games, indie games, on the Switch per week going forward.
Which is absurd.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit out there, but that's going forward for an indefinite amount of time, and it seems like they're just kind of trying to appease the stockholders by sheer volume, right? Because one of the concerns they had was that Nintendo's fall lineup was looking unsatisfactory, and they were concerned about, the amount of games Nintendo would have. So they kind of just came out and were like, not only will we have more games, we're going to have so many games.
We will have the more games ever.
You will not see a higher volume of,
Except in the Steam store.
Except Steam.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So did they say 20 to 30 games a day or a week?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
okay.
No, a day would be
Smokes.
Steam.
Yeah. Seriously.
So Steam gets like around 50 games every single day.
Well, that's horrifying.
It is, and we see the effects of it.
Yeah, but
yeah.
Even when it's 20 to 30 a week, actually, how are they doing right now? Because currently they have at least 10 to 15 games coming out any given week.
Right.
Or at least I've noticed.
They've already
If
got a lot.
you've seen our Twitch channel, you can see Scarlett's been playing some of these, dregs of the barrel kind of indie games.
Oh, poor Scarlett. Taking one for the team.
He loves this.
Yeah, he enjoys it, but a lot of people probably don't, because these are low budget, just crapped out theher mobile ports, or just really
we're seeing
low effort.
A lot of really crappy mobile ports with very, very stock standard transfers of controls, and there are some coming out that even only have the Android and iOS touch controls, and they don't have full Joy-Con support of all things. But that's the lowest of the low. But it kind of gives an idea for the breadth of quality that has been appearing. So,
and if you just open the floodgates, that's just going to let more in.
Yeah.
Right, and the other thing is curation of the storefront, because at least Steam has some kinds of systems in place to curate the huge influx of games they get on a regular basis. But if you've been on the eShop, there's a few categories, and they're all just a straight up list of things. There's no proper curation or featured game sections. Oh, there is now, but even then, the eShop, I feel it can't really handle the amount of games it's getting now, because a game will come, it'll release, and it'll stay on the front new release page for a day or two, or a week tops, and then it's just buried. And I've seen a lot of developers actually put their games on sale at 10% off just to show up in one of the sections.
Right, and bring it back to relevancy.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just buried and gone. You'll never see it again unless you're actually actively searching for it. And so I feel that's a problem that will need to be addressed if Nintendo's just gonna be cranking out a bunch of games every week on a consistent basis.
Right, and this is all new for them, because, they've had the Virtual Console and the eShop, but this is their first major attempt at keeping a storefront going. And it's really bare bones.
Yeah, it shows. It's incredibly dry. There's basically a search function and little else. The metadata for each game is very limited, and it's not always accurate. And there's basically no way to recommend games. It's Yeah, it's pretty dry. In fact, it's already gotten to the point where, for Steam, I basically don't look at any new releases or any real recommendations because even their system doesn't really do much for me. I basically go on there specifically looking for games that I know are releasing, like high-profile titles that I learn about through other means, and just get them through Steam. And honestly, for the Nintendo eShop on the Switch, that's basically what I've been doing as well. So it's already kind of...
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever used the eShop to actually just browse it. Like, maybe once when I first got my Switch, but usually I go in, I type Mario Kart 8, and I got Mario Kart 8. That's all I need to do.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a bit different from you guys, I suppose. Like, I occasionally, maybe every few days, just hop on the eShop to see what's new. Because I like buying, small indie games from time to time, trying new things. And, yeah, definitely from what I've noticed, even the, new games, the coming games section, that's 2 columns with large blocks, and there's not much space for anything. And if you're not like me, which is probably most people, browsing the eShop on a consistent basis, then you're just not going to see much of what it has to offer.
Yeah.
And then going back to the original part of it is that they're bringing in all these games. I mean, for every Hollow Knight, we're going to be getting 20 mobile ports.
Yeah.
What? They don't specify what kind of indie games. They just said, indie games, which could...
Yeah.
I just hope they have a filter.
Yeah, they're probably not.
I hope they're not just going for sheer volume.
I think they are just to appease the numbers, because the stockholders seem to be kind of pushy, despite how well it's selling. I mean, I know most console sellers like Microsoft and Sony, they make their money off of the software sales rather than the hardware sales.
Yeah.
But we can tell through all the little aggregates in the UK or Japan that even the Switch software is doing really good.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming the nervousness from the shareholders is purely because of the staff shakeup with the new CEO coming in.
Yeah, I think it's the staff shakeup. I think it's the fall lineup in a bit. Maybe they're just still wary of Nintendo's, rocky history with the Wii to Wii U business. I think that past precedent has pretty much put it in their minds that Nintendo can go from on the top of the world to at the bottom of the ravine kind of relatively quickly, more quickly than some other companies. So they're looking at the staff shakeup and the fall lineup, and they're like, "Oh, is this the beginning of that slope?"
Yeah.
Right.
I remember Kimishima saying at the beginning of this year that the Switch's second year would be pivotal for the system, essentially saying that you get your first year to get the console out the door and get it started, and then your second year to prove everyone that this can be a system that consistently delivers. And honestly, I'm kind of miffed because if you remember E3, they didn't really have a whole lot they were showing off. Apparently, they're still hiding games for their fall lineup, and for a company that said
it's acceptable, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean it is, but for a company that said that their second year would be pivotal for the system, I kind of feel that they're a bit bare bones and trying to compensate with this whole 20 to 30 games a week thing.
Well, I don't think. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I think the Yoshi game also got delayed into 2018, so they're not... 2019, sorry. They're losing more games as well. I mean, their E3 booth had Overcooked 2, Mario Tennis Aces, Smash, and Pokemon. And that's their entire 2018...
Wait, really?
Yeah, that was all that was at their E3.
So there's a separate booth for Overcooked 2?
They just had the stations with the Switches hooked with all the games in.
Why Overcooked 2? No, okay, I might be getting off topic a bit.
I mean, maybe it's relevant. Maybe that's just a shadow of them trying to bring in indie titles, little titles to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, because it's honestly, bit worrying.
That or Overcooked 2 is just as good as Smash, guys. Believe it.
I believe it.
Console seller.
I've never played Overcooked 1, so I really couldn't even comment. Yeah. But, at the same time, we're kind of maybe it's a mistake to hold them to the same patterns as other companies at E3 when everyone just kind of saves up for months and months and months and then just blows their collective load at E3, just like, check out all of our games.
I mean...
Well, Nintendo takes a more staggered approach with their Nintendo Directs, and so we kind of... I feel like it would be reasonable to expect this E3 to be just a slightly bigger Nintendo Direct, and we would see more going down the line, because that's typically, or it seems to be, that's the pattern they're trying to maintain. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they said they're hiding some of their fall lineup means, well, we'll probably get more Nintendo Directs down the line where they're like, well, here's some more games, and here's some more games. And...
So, guys, if you remember 3 years ago, they had just Zelda at their booth. And that might have just been because they were kind of starved on games at that point, but even then, you've seen that, even one really big first-party title can carry their systems for, like, years. So, with that being said, do you guys think that Smash and then the kind of light version of Pokemon that we're getting later this year, do you think they'll be big system sellers? Big sellers?
Well, Smash would be a big system seller, yes. Yeah. But I don't think Smash itself is going to carry the same longevity as something like Zelda. Like Zelda, the hype may be kind of relatively comparable, but Zelda just keeps going, and it will keep people fed for a long time. Like, it's the dense bread of gaming. Whereas for Smash, something like that is kind of like the candy version of gaming. Like, it's sweet and it's satisfying in the moment, but is it a really long-term thing that's going to draw people out over a long period of time? And
like, if they really invest into competitive stuff, because Melee's been around for, 2 decades. So if they do a good enough job, they can be like many of the other online or competitive focused games out there. Your Overwatches, your Counter Strikes, because there is a very dedicated core community there. And I think if they're able to expand that, it could be good for the game and the system going forward.
Well, to contrast that, I think Sakurai said the other day that it's not going to really be that competitive.
Yep,
they're just going for a game that everyone can jump into. Well, to be fair, Smash has never been competitive, created for that.
Yeah, not
it's just
Nintendo.
The community picked it up for that fact.
Yeah, but it's Nintendo, you have the Switch reveal trailer. At the very end, they had, this whole esports thing going on, where they were playing Splatoon in, a big arena, and then every E3, at least for the last 2 years or so, they've had, esports-style tournaments to show off their new games. It's just, I really wish they'd go forward with this idea a bit more. I know they're a bit stingy around esports because of Japanese regulations. It's harder for them to host esports in Japan, and so they just don't do them anywhere. But I generally think that it would help the Switch and their game sales, and help Smash have more longevity overall.
Well, I think it's Smash, thinking back, we will not count Smash 64 because that was the first entry. But even with Melee, that game didn't really it definitely drove sales to the GameCube, but the GameCube was still considered very pathetic in terms of sales during that whole generation.
Right.
And you can consider Melee the king of all the Smash games. And of course, when the Wii U came out, and we got Smash 4, it was on the 3DS, so you could argue that the 3DS kind of took sales away, but still, that didn't save the Wii U either. It's always a game that supplements the rest of the console's library.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that, yeah.
And on the other hand, for Pokemon, I think it's Pokemon, so it's going to sell no matter what.
A bit. Is it, though?
It's like they're trying to go for the casual crowd with this, but I don't think the casual crowd is really going to buy it. I think it's just going to be the core Pokemon fans again.
Yeah, exactly. Pokemon, well, there's two things about that. Pokemon is kind of casual enough. I feel like the formula they already have for Pokemon is pretty much integrating the casual crowd already.
It's just, in this one, they're trying to cater more to the Pokemon Go players who picked it up last summer.
And picked it up on phone, which is the whole crux of the argument is you're not going to really get people who are just casually playing Pokemon Go on their phone. They're not going to go out. They're not going to go buy a Switch. They're not going to go buy the version of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really wonder.
And everything is so pared back and simplified that I really kind of wonder if it's going to retain its most of its core audience. Like, I know the hardcore Pokemon fans will buy anything with Pokemon on it, but at the same time, people who are looking for a genuine Pokemon game and then they kind of see this, I don't know if they're really going to go for it. Like, how much have we really seen to be in there, right? It's moving around. There's some battles you catch by throwing the Pokeball. It's like, I don't know. I get the feeling...
multiplayer thing's fun.
Yeah,
That's
that may
addition.
be one of the big draws, honestly.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think,
interesting,
like,
you know.
Not only are the general kind of people, they're a little worried about the game, because they see this and they're like, Pokemon Go. You've also got, it's Kanto, again. And we've seen that in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. We saw that in Fire Red and Leaf Green. We saw that in Red and Blue and Green and Yellow. And I'm all for a Yellow remake, but at the same time, there's going to be some sort of level of fatigue going on. That a lot of people are like, I saw Kanto 50 trillion times, I don't need to play this again.
Yeah, it's kind of
Or
lacking.
you get the people that are drawn in because they're like, oh my gosh, Kanto in HD. So it could go either way, but I feel like this is going to be... It's not going to perform as well as, like, Sun and Moon or, like, a main line title.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we're getting that next year.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah.
To be honest, looking at the visual style, I almost kind of suspect that in like a year from now they'll release it in phones.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
that could be a thing.
They may end up making a mobile port of it, yeah.
Could be.
That's a bit...
I mean, I think, in my opinion, the graphics are the way they are because it's kind of like a really quick, you know, just get this out the door before we get our really big game out next year.
Yeah, it screams spin-off.
Yeah, it looks like they just used the 3DS's engine and
They basically
upscaled
did.
it. Yeah.
It looks exactly like what Ultra Sun and Moon do through Citra, honestly.
Yeah.
Looking right at it, I was like, wow, the Pokemon models, they look like they were just taken straight from the 3DS, which I think the 3DS or something had the assets for HD models, didn't they? It was found in, like, the game files, so... I mean, I think they literally just were like, alright, we already have these assets, just crank it into HD, boom.
I can't imagine it was a very long development cycle for this game.
Right.
Yeah. Their new game is going to be using Unreal 4, I think, if their recent job postings are anything to go by, so...
Well, that'd be interesting.
That would be unreal.
Oh. There's our first pun.
You just had to go for it, didn't you?
I mean, we made it pretty far, guys.
I held myself back with
disappointed in you all.
Kanto, but I guess...
Oh.
Almost 17 minutes. Congrats, guys.
To be fair, I have been holding myself back.
We're so proud of you.
Oh.
Alright, so we're going from the eShop and talking about the indie game flood that we're eventually going to face. Well, there's another game storefront that's kind of in the news lately, and that's Tencent's Wii game platform.
That's right, yes.
There's a lot of games I know that, or a couple of them, I'm blanking on exactly what, but I've seen studios say that No Man's Sky, that's what I was thinking about. No Man's Sky is going to be on there. And then a couple other studios said that their games are going to be on there. So Tencent is, I guess at this point, courting developers into making, or what they want to do is make a Steam competitor.
Heck yeah, No Man's Sky, the greatest game of all time.
I know, wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're unstoppable now. They've got No Man's Sky.
It's like that
with
came to
China
mind.
software though. With
Yeah, it's
China,
like-
they like to get like every single application. They'll try to make a Chinese version of it. Like
Right.
Facebook, they put their own thing. Like every single thing, they want to make their own thing of. Like even
Yeah.
recently with the CPU, where they've copied what
Oh,
was it?
AMD, right?
Yeah, AMD's Epic. CPU.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Oh.
which I think was technically like a deal where AMD gets like a part of the profit, but technically it's theirs, sort of code, but not really.
It's like
Something
sort of a
wrong.
like...
Was that an officially sanctioned thing?
I
mean,
think
China
so.
is known for IP theft and whatnot in some sectors.
I think this was like an official thing to some extent.
Yeah, because
But
what
I mean-
happens with a lot of Western or non-Chinese companies is when they go into China, they have to find a sponsor or like another company to work with typically because the Chinese market it has historically been very inaccessible to a lot of companies. And so by partnering with a local company, that company can help guide them through regulation as well as actually get the product into Chinese consumers' hands for a cut of profit, of course, but it's still more profitable than trying to
Just
go it
breaking
solo
in
and
yourself.
just getting murdered at the hands of regulation.
Now, I think Ubisoft, their saving grace was Tencent a while back when Gameloft or whatever was trying to buy them out. So they're kind of currently in the Chinese market. So I wonder if we'll be seeing a lot of Ubisoft games on it.
Tencent is big. Like, I don't know if people understand that. They are a huge corporate presence, especially in games.
If anything could combat Steam, it would be them, I would say.
Potentially.
I mean, they've got a long
they
way
have,
to go, though.
Yeah, but
do,
they have the Chinese market that Steam generally doesn't have. I mean,
Right.
China is a huge market. It greatly eclipses all the other game markets out there just because there's so many people living in China. And with Tencent having just very good access to that market, I feel at the very least it could end up like WeChat, if you know what that is. Very popular in China, not so outside, but yeah, so it could be like that where they have
Isn't
the Chinese
WeChat,
market.
Chinese is Facebook, basically, with like extra features?
Yeah, that's basically what WeChat is.
But
And
the
kind of
thing
like
is,
WhatsApp.
This is more about their global pursuits rather than their Chinese pursuits.
Yeah, but like, I
Right.
mean, if they can get enough of a player base or a user base in China, I feel that sets them up really well to go global because they already have an established marketplace at that point.
Well,
Right.
A lot
that'll
of
definitely
people.
give them guaranteed revenue and make it safer to pursue other business ventures. But at the same time, like, what would they be providing that Steam wouldn't be already providing? Because Steam's, as we've said, Steam's floodgates are way, way open to each and every game that will ever come out, ever. Anyone
Yeah.
who wants to pay a Steam $100 can get their game released on Steam. So, for the Chinese market, being that it's so kind of secluded, and so as far as regulations go and the such, you know, if it's got a big opportunity to reap in revenue from there that's kind of unreachable by some means by other companies. But like when it tries to reach out of that and broach into Steam's market, I don't really see the niche they can insert themselves into.
Yeah.
No matter their monetary backing, you know, unless they can actually procure exclusives for their storefront. But I feel like that's going to draw in more ire than anything.
They'll
And I mean,
probably be
we've seen
successful.
GOG and all the other attempts to kind of compete with Steam. They kind of stay relevant, but they never get anywhere near. They don't even fall on Steam's shadow.
Well, GOG provides something of a different service than Steam.
The DRM
right?
list,
With
but still, the others even, no storefront has really tried to directly compete with Steam either, yet.
Right, because it
Yeah.
would be a bad idea. So they kind
Part
of
of the-
they kind of slide off the way the Nintendo Switch serves a semi-different demographic than console games, you know, by being a portable hybrid. Things like GOG serve a semi-different demographic by being like, oh, we've got Steam games that are on Steam, but it's no DRM. So like if you wanted that, that's maybe
And
something
they've also
that
got
would...
some older games as well.
That is
Right.
true. They've got a pretty good archive of... I bought Sudeki off of GOG, and that's like... that's a game from
And
my
they
childhood.
they provide a lot of games that are better than the Steam version due to the little tweaks they make. Like the original Fallout games are much more desirable from GOG rather than Steam.
Really?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Fallout 3, I think still has games for Windows Live on Steam.
Yeah, it does.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you need it's okay.
Aren't there
Look,
technically two versions of 3 on Steam? Like,
Yes,
one
the
that's
original.
Game
It's like
Began and-
Borderlands.
Yeah. It's like one of those versions, you have to have games for Windows Live installed just to get it to run. You don't even have to open the app. Just have it installed on your PC somewhere so that the game can be like, you have it! And then it never checks again. And GOG had the foresight to get rid of that. I don't know what's up with Steam, but...
Steam doesn't care.
Not a lot of curation. Yeah, Steam kind of just lets things sit on their front, and they're just like, there we go.
Yeah.
Although
See, part of the reason Steam doesn't have a real worthy competitor, if you don't count GOG because they offer something different, is because there doesn't really need to, in the sense that Steam already offers a lot, and like they're a big company, they want money, they do stupid things, but generally they are more consumer friendly than say the PlayStation
Uplay.
Store or Uplay. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to think about. Steam has absolutely no competition, no relevant competition, and hasn't for a very long time, and yet they still stay so pro-consumer and competitive in the most loose sense. Like their prices, you'd typically see with a pseudo monopoly like that, with market dominance, you'd see prices becoming higher. It's now they become a more expensive commodity. They're just like, well, we've got total control. Now we can jack up prices slowly, and then people start getting unsettled, and then that's where... I mean, maybe they're just playing the long game. Maybe they're trying to avoid people getting unsettled and fostering that need for a competitor by staying competitive with just the idea of a competitor, just so that they never have to have any competition. I mean, it's a lot of hearsay, and but it's interesting, because usually with something like that, you see very non-consumer friendly practices going on, where Steam... lack of curation aside, Steam seems to be, giving heavy sales continually. Prices aren't being jacked up compared to other places. Steam is still the cheapest place to get most things. Yeah.
And sometimes
here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Steam has actually had worse and worse sales. Like 6 years ago, you'd get like massive sales on everything, 75% off, 80% off.
Nowadays, they got rid of lightning deals and things too.
Yeah, that type of stuff as well. So in a sense, they have gotten a little more expensive. Just putting it out there. I suppose.
Although they still do things nowadays, even to the detriment of their own, say, their hardware. They let controllers of all kinds use their configuration software, the software they developed for the Steam controller. And I bet that's eating into Steam controller sales, if people want that controller.
I mean, as if people wanted the Steam controller.
Right, but the configuration software that Steam has is actually very robust. Locking it to just the Steam controller gives people an incentive to buy it. But now if they could use their Xbox controller and do much of the same, they don't really need to buy it. And I just saw an update to Steam yesterday that now allows people to create their own custom controller, like baseline configs, so that general controllers that aren't yet officially recognized by Steam can have a fast track to being recognized and supported. And that's not something you see big monopoly platform holders do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel Steam or Valve is in a unique position to do that, simply because they're still private. They still hold power over themselves. They're not kowtowing to shareholders. They're a very relatively small company that's basically doing whatever they want because they have endless money and no competition, no oversight. You see, they don't release many games because they don't need to. If you know about Valve's internal company structure, employees literally pick up their desks and move them to whatever department they want to work on at any given day. There's no set project deadlines and whatnot, or they're very loose. Employees just do quite literally whatever they want to, and when a feature's done, it's done and it'll ship. And that's just kind of been Steam's everything from the start.
Right, they're a very weirdly unique kind of corporation.
Yeah. They do so many things differently, it's kind of maybe hard to pinpoint what the effects of some of those are. It's just like, well, Steam is so different in this sense. It's like, well, yeah, they're just kind of wacky in general. So who knows where that comes from?
Right.
Now, going somewhere also related to Steam is, did any of you see their kind of player base leak thing that happened?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about that.
Wasn't it the total people who played a game, out of everything at any point? Wasn't that
right.
Nice?
Yeah, so basically this dude he saw Steam Spy where Valve kind of killed Steam Spy, and he's like, you know what, I could do this better. And so he basically decided to work around the API for Steam and see what he could find in there. And he used some sort of 16-digit calculation thing where he could find the exact amount of people that had played a game through, backwards calculating the achievements.
Yeah, because you could see achievement data to 16 numbers of precision.
Right.
And if you just say how many people got the achievement, how many people got the game, that's what you're trying to figure out, but just extrapolating the data when you have that much precision, it's very precise.
Yeah. And so that was pretty cool, because now we get to see, like, the best-selling games of Steam of all time. We have really exact numbers, so... And that's never happened. Like, we've had, like, general estimations, and Steam Spy could give you, like, a kind of idea, but now we have, like, almost legitimate numbers.
But if that actually was going off of achievements, how would that account for the people who bought the game and then just never ran it?
I think there was some way that it...
Because Steam still records how many people bought the game, and that's hidden, so that you can't get that from the API, but when you get achievement data, it shows you what percentage of players got a certain achievement,
Right.
and so it basically just says, alright, 300 people out of 10,000 got this achievement, right? So, this percentage. And then you just basically say how many people got the achievement, extrapolate that from the percentage, and there you are, the player count.
So you just reverse calculate it. So it'll actually show you both the percentage of people who got the achievement out of the total people who bought the game or own the game at the very least, as well as the raw number of people who have that achievement. And so you just use a single solve a single equation and you got it. I mean, that seems
I believe that's how it works, yeah.
And then Valve was like, whoops, that wasn't supposed to be, and they kind of patched that out. So we lost the ability to see that in the future, but for now we have a very accurate list.
Well, maybe. Valve did say that they're coming out with their own kind of Steam Spy-like thing. I wonder
this wasn't their intention. So.
Yeah, like, I wonder if it'll be as accurate. My guess is that it'll actually be more privatized, and so...
Yeah, they said it was going to be for industry only, I think.
Right, yeah. So it would just be sent out to developers that want that data.
Right, which means that the scrub public wouldn't be allowed to see it.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of nice, because Steam Spy was used by a lot of development studios as, like, data to base their, Steam sales strategy off of. And Steam Spy could be wildly inaccurate at times. So, yeah, it is good for, like, Valve to be doing that, and...
They should have been doing that from the first place.
Yeah. It's a weird situation just all around, kind of.
Yeah. As far as what it revealed for the top 10 titles, it's pretty unsurprising. Like, we see things like...
Counter-Strike?
Yeah, I know. Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike, PUBG, Unturned, Left 4 Dead 2, and we go down, we got Warframe, Terraria... Borderlands 2, Rocket League. It's like, well, yeah. It's basically saying, you knew these games were incredibly popular. Here's exactly how popular. We're like, yep, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Portal wasn't in the top 15, though. Literally mind blown.
Oh, no.
Just Portal 2.
Portal 2, yeah.
No, it's Robocraft.
I'm going to assume it's like...
Robocraft?
I'm going to assume it's like Unturned, where it's a free-to-play game.
Yeah,
I would hope.
Yeah,
Unless...
It's free to
play.
play.
There's been a sleeper hit 10 million sales game that none of us have heard of. Secretly, we're just all terribly out of the loop.
Yeah, really, it's practically a coma hit.
Yeah.
Anyone got an 8-year-old brother that would probably know?
Nope.
No.
Thank goodness.
I said it's actually free to play on Steam. I just checked it.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yep.
That's... I would hope.
And the race reviews are mixed, so...
Oh no, they put on an update that people didn't like, maybe. Let
the anger commence.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you've played that.
Like, it's a... Alright.
I want to meet the one person who has. Or apparently the 10,000.
10 million.
10 million! Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Jeez, dude, you're just lowballing this poor innocent game. How dare you?
It's not innocent.
Alright, what's next on the list? How about we talk about Code Vein?
What is Code Vein?
Yeah. Well,
It's Dark Souls, but anime.
Souls.
Yeah, Anime Souls.
Anime Souls.
Bandai Namco, no influence from Miyazaki. It's the God Eater team, of all things, doing it. This, okay, so a little bit off topic, kind of. This kind of echoes a bit for me what Dark Souls 2 ended up being. So for anyone not familiar, Miyazaki developed Dark Souls 1, and then he and his team kind of went off to develop Bloodborne, while Bandai Namco and their teams kind of put together a Dark Souls 2, and
Well, it was still From Soft, but did too. It was like the big team, so to speak. Different coder, different what's it called? Director
yeah,
and such.
yeah. There were two directors at one point. There was a lot of I don't actually know the details. There were two directors. There was a lot of contention between them. One person eventually ended up taking over. That they shambled together a game at all was like a miracle, one of them said. It was, yeah. but it kind of, I wonder if, with God Eater team going off to develop Code Vein, as well as God Eater 3 being developed right now and heavily promoted, like, I wonder what's going to happen there.
I'm assuming that is probably related to the delay that was announced today.
Could very well be. It's interesting because the gameplay that I've been seeing and the stuff that was shown at E3 looked fairly polished and finished. And
right.
What they had said was not, we need more time to, polish up an area or to, like, iron out bugs or, set the multiplayer to work correctly because we're having issues there. What they said was we're going to tweak gameplay. Like, we based on the feedback they got from E3 and from testers, they really need to tweak and rebalance gameplay. And I thought that was kind of interesting because it looked really finished, and now they're kind of not only yeah.
If you look at the gameplay, it seems a little too easy in a sense almost.
Yes.
Like the balance seems like all over the place there. Like you've got sections that look extremely easy, and then you've got parts that look a lot harder.
The demo that I played at E3 was fairly easy. Like it wasn't really challenging, but I don't think they are trying to go for like a Dark Souls, you're gonna get killed instantly if you don't know what you're doing kind of difficulty. I'm not sure if that's sort of like kind of MO, but the only difficulty in the actual game was that they had a 10-minute time limit and you could not like explore and beat the boss in that reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, that was strange. Yeah, my biggest concern was that the game just looks too easy. I don't know if that's because I'm now a veteran of Dark Souls, or if it's just kind of because the game does look too easy. The first thing that triggered me was the fact that you have a partner character that can revive you multiple times based on...
that one footage. It's like just seeing them being revived like every second. Dead, yes, revived, dead, revived, dead, revived, dead.
Yeah. The thing was, it took for a limited resource, which I thought was, okay, there's a limited resource for this, you can't just die all the time, but the resource refills very quickly when you attack an enemy. So long as you get a good set of combos in, it looks like you get a revive back. And granted, that was very early. That was some of like the first boss footage they showed, so things could have changed from there. But that was the first time it kind of ticked me off that like this game might be a little hollow in terms of the difficulty. So I wonder if they're kind of adjusting that. I would like it if they did. It doesn't need to be, bleedingly hard. It doesn't need to absolutely slap me every second. But a lot of the depth in Dark Souls comes from it being that difficult and kind of having to manage many things and focus very acutely on small things, because otherwise it's a relatively simple battle system. As far as Code Vein goes, there's a lot more mechanics that they're pouring into it, especially active mechanics that you can do during battle, different types of attacks and a block. There's like two different dodges I saw at one point, I think. There's more in there, but unless they kind of give you that incentive and drive to learn it and, kind of wrap your mind around it and utilize every aspect, if the difficulty isn't there, I don't think it'll come together in the end. It's
an interesting thing. I mean, the one thing we can definitively say, it's the Dark Souls of anime games. I'm a games journalist. I have to say it.
Okay.
Fair point.
I mean, it's also that we got a general delay as well. Because they didn't say, like, summer 2019. They just told us, 2019. When we had an exact release date for it. So right. I feel like that also shows they're kind of like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. It seems they're uneasy and they don't exactly have... It may even say that they don't have a specific direction to take things in. Like, they're still in the process of evaluating where they need to fix things rather than just fixing them in general, so...
Right.
But yeah, I'm still holding out hope that Code Vein's going to turn out good, so I'm going to stay optimistic, I guess. But it is a bit unsettling.
Hopefully it won't be in vain.
Oh, there we go. There's another one.
Oh, there it is.
that-
there. Oh, I
Is
feel
that,
like
is that only our second?
Yeah. For all watching
Yeah,
at home, that
I'm
is our second pun. Clap. So, as opposed to generic release windows, we did get a release date like about an hour ago for Dead Cells. And I think most of us here have played that.
yes.
Oh yeah, Dead Cells. That's coming on Switch. So that's the Switch release date.
That's
Yeah.
for it's coming out of early access in general date. That's their official
Oh, it's in
launch
early
date.
access right now.
okay.
I actually
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's been in early access
Oh.
for a long time.
But
Oh,
on
okay.
August 7th, it's finally coming out of early access. It's launching on all the consoles. And I think they said they were planning DLC in the future as well.
That's what I was going to ask next, because it definitely has room for it. It's got the fan base behind it. People are used to getting content periodically at this point. So if the full game releases and people are like, "Well, this is great. Maybe continue to give us what you've been giving us and the structure you've been giving us," because that's kind of how they've been putting out these updates. They've been major DLC-like updates, it's not just tweaks and
Right.
bug fixes and just kind of like, here's half of an area. It's like, here's 5 new weapons and a new boss and a new area, and now this door's open, so now these two areas have connected where they weren't before. So like, it's been DLC-esque already. So I think if they continue onward, if the full release goes well and everyone's happy with all the changes that they've made and all the balances they've done, I'm eager to get in there and check again, because I had some suggestions that way back in the early days that I kind of hope they fixed. But yeah, if people are happy with that, then they are just wide open for DLC.
So what kind of game is... Sorry, I don't want to intrude. I'll ask it in a bit.
It would be a roguelike, I would say, yeah?
Yeah, it's
Roguelike?
a roguelike Metroidvania in a degree.
Okay.
It's not... There is some randomized elements to it, but the map layouts are more or less structured and kind of set. So there are certain shortcuts and certain room locations and shop locations that are roughly in the same point every time. So if you can learn a map and kind of optimize your run that way, which is fun, but there's also randomized elements in terms of what weapons get placed in what rooms. There might be a teleportation stone in this one area that it wasn't before. And of course the interconnecting halls do get almost completely randomized. So you get different enemy layouts, it's a fun time.
Yeah. And recently we've been seeing a lot of platform games have really nice DLC come out for it. Sonic Mania is getting its plus thing.
Yeah.
But then you have games like Shovel Knight or I had another one I was thinking of. Ori and the Blind Forest. They've had really nice expansion content. So, yeah, I think they definitely have the potential to do something really cool here. If they do go for DLC.
And they have the player base.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, so many people have been playing it on PC in early access, and they've been loving it.
Yeah, I know
so
all of you
word
guys
of
have
mouth
played
is
it.
going to help.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll do well. And August is really soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
when's the
coming out.
release date again?
August 7th.
August 7th.
And that's on literally all platforms.
Well,
For
cool.
mobile phones, because mobile phones suck.
Yeah, well. You're not going to put... Yeah.
So, on to the next topic. How about a ratings board leak for the Tycho game?
Nice.
Is anyone here familiar with that?
The
I'm
Tycho
not.
series, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a rhythm game based around drums, so I guess you're going to be using the Joy-Cons as...
Yeah, as
Yeah,
motion
yeah.
little drums. And that's been the only time it's gotten a Western release was, I think, published by Bandai Namco, where they replaced every single song in the game for the Western market because they said, oh no, we don't have enough weebs in the West to appreciate this music, so they replaced the whole soundtrack.
Oh, jeez.
The whole soundtrack?
Yeah, so hopefully
Sounds
I'm
about
going to
right.
assume in this day and age, because that was back on the PS2 era, so I think
Okay.
nowadays they're just going to release it normally. It hasn't
Yeah,
been
yeah.
officially announced, but it has been on the Australian ratings board, which is known to leak everything known to mankind.
Australian ratings board just can't catch a break.
Yeah. Shout out to We Happy Few.
Oh, jeez.
They just seem so dysfunctional, but that's a different topic.
That's Australia in a nutshell.
Oh, don't get me started on Australian
really.
censorship.
Yeah.
We tried so hard to finally get an adults only rating, and then as soon as we did, it's like, oh well, I guess we'll have to ban these games as well because the adults can't handle them. Drugs in any context? No, we can't have that.
What does that mean?
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely.
I mean, for every game that has like any mention of drugs, they have to like mask everything and like.
Yeah, and it's totally without paying any regard to the context. Like, We Happy Few is not exalting drug use in the least. In fact, it's vilifying it as a tool of control. And yet the ratings board looks at it. It's like, oh no, that's drugs. We can't show drugs. It's like, well, it's specifically anti-drugs. If you really look at it, it's vilifying the whole taking of this drug in order to mask reality. It's like, oh no, hide that. We're masking reality.
So much, yeah. It confused me so much about the decision.
Really just hit too close to home for them.
Seriously.
Oh shit!
Oh damn! Pew pew pew.
They were accurate shots, though.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Speaking of shots fired, how about the Fallout shelter scandal thing?
Yeah. So, a little backstory on that. Basically, Fallout Shelter came out, and then Westworld, which is an HBO property, came out with their own game, which is very much like Fallout Shelter, except they have a few more elements tacked on. And
Wasn't it the same company that did the Fallout Shelter and the Westworld game?
Bethesda
Yes.
teamed up with a company called... Anyone know their name?
Behavior Interactive?
Yeah, I think that's it. And basically, Bethesda went to court with Warner Brothers because, and get this, they found similar bugs between Fallout Shelter and this Westworld game, which is
And
a
the
totally
thing is-
Bethesda thing to do.
Yeah,
really.
they found out that it's likely their copyrighted engine purely because of bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, leave it to Bethesda to identify their exclusive fingerprint by their specific bugs. But, you know, as far as concepts go, it could very well mean, like, that is reasonable to start suspecting that your code has been stolen if it has very specific bugs and it looks the same, you know?
Yeah,
It functions relatively similarly. So what was the eventual ruling on that? Did they find out that the code was stolen, or?
WB took it to court. Fallout sued them, or Bethesda sued them, and then WB said, no, we don't care what you say about the bugs. This is totally unfounded. So they're fighting back in court.
So
Now they're all lawyering up.
That's
Okay.
interesting, because I don't know much about law and copyright law specifically, but you'd think that, you know, after something like that, because that's reasonable evidence, they would just go like, all right, show us the code that you used, and we'll compare it to the code that they have, and we'll see, you know, explicitly whether or not anything was stolen. And I think it would be kind of cut and dry, handled with just a direct comparison, but, you know, maybe that's my own ignorance talking, you know.
If they got a third party... Yeah, if they got like a third party to just audit both codes and see.
Yeah.
At the same time, WB has a lot of money to burn, so they could just try to be fighting the case to see if they can get thrown out in court or look for any way to get out of having to pay out.
That's
maybe
true, yeah.
It could be just a sign that, you know, they did steal the code and they're just trying to weasel their way around some technicality. They're just like, no, actually, we don't have to show you our code because that would violate our rights in article subsection of this place, where this is a protected thing. It's like, oh, well, now we have to throw out the whole business.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and WB is known to be entirely sketchy because they paid off reviewers for Shadow of Mordor.
Did they actually?
A lot of things.
Yeah. They've done a lot of betting, specifically their game studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, we know they're a little on the skeevy side.
On the other hand, didn't Bethesda try to, like, trademark the term scrolls?
Scrolls.
They did do that,
geez.
didn't they?
That is a common thing for. I mean, because CD Projekt Red is trying to trade, or they already did trademark Cyberpunk. It's just a thing they do to protect their IPs, which may or may not have general names.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing was...
Like, I mean, I don't understand Cyberpunk specifically, but if it's just like
Right.
one word out of your title, that's another
Scrolls.
thing. Like,
Well,
I
not-
imagine them saying Elder Scrolls, but Scrolls by
Yeah.
itself is a
Right,
bit sketchy.
right.
Well, the thing was, the reason it kind of came up as a conflict is, like, under that copyright, there was a mobile game that was relatively popular that had Scrolls in the title that would have been forced to change their name. So it's not like CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk where they're doing it purely as a preventative measure, and they kind of came out and addressed it once this thing was circulating the internet, that the news had come that they trademarked Cyberpunk. They're like, no, we're just trying to make sure to protect ourselves. We're just taking on this as ammunition for self-defense in case anyone tries to infringe on our property. Whereas I thought, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I thought with the Elder Scrolls, it was they were actively taking action with this new copyright thing, and that somebody would have to change their name because they had Scrolls in the name. And I think that's why things got revoked.
Yeah, it was Mojang that got sued.
Oh.
Yeah. I wonder if Bethesda would do that now, considering that Microsoft owns them. Or owns
Yeah, I don't
Mojang.
think they would dare.
Yeah.
Bethesda's big, but they're not. We're gonna fight Microsoft over a name big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's something WB would do.
Yeah, WB is both skeevy and kind of dumb.
Yeah. Oh, there's another aspect to this that's not really been talked about, or maybe it's just because it's not actually part of the legal case, but Bethesda did also say in their statement that they're suing over the game playing similarly to Fallout Shelter.
They are nailing WB on multiple charges. There's, like, breaking an NDA, the game is being similar, the game has the same code.
Yeah,
They're just going all out.
They are, but thing is, you can't copyright or own game mechanics. Someone can create a one-to-one exact copy of your game, and if it's all original assets that, are all legally acquired, then they're all right to do so, and legal precedent says that's the case. So
That's a little shady then.
The thing
it's
is,
like,
I wonder if it kind of falls under different technicality when you're talking about something that may be classified as a monetization structure or scheme, like, because Fallout has microtransactions, and I know that you can file for patents and copyrights on certain business structures when it's geared toward, making money or selling a product. Some sort of, So I wonder if it kind of squeezes over the line of, like, pure game mechanic to business thing.
I doubt it. Bethesda's not the first company to do this kind of monetization. It's a traditional mobile kind of thing, I think you just buy loot boxes. That's basically what the monetization scheme is in Fallout Shelter.
Good old loot boxes.
Yeah. So I doubt it's that.
Just what I'd expect from mobile.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like,
I'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
So Bethesda almost definitely does have a case here. It's just, they're kind of tacking on the whole gameplay thing as like, yeah, we have a legal case for copyright infringement, but, maybe we can get in, stealing ideas, which is not admissible in court, but who knows?
Well, luckily it wouldn't throw out their whole case. They'd just be throwing out that one specific charge, I would assume.
Right.
Yeah, probably. It's just so close to the whole, Fortnite Epic feud.
Oh, I like how they just threw them. They just ran away. PUBG was just like, nope, we're fine.
They filed in South Korean court, too.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's no precedent there for stealing game ideas.
No, but
I guess they just don't want to fight Epic.
Yeah, because Epic has their game engine. Epic's just like staring at them from above. They're just like, you want it? You want to take us? Come on.
Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't sue the people who are providing you your tech.
Yeah, probably. Got a smart idea.
Yeah.
Speaking of tech, because I am a master of segues, let's move on to some scene news, which is the Fusjali thing.
Is that how you say it?
I don't know. I really
Fusage-
don't.
I've been saying it like Fusage-Gillet.
I'm
It
pretty
could
sure
be
it's
that.
Fusagally myself, but that's...
I'm gonna go with Meteor suggestion. All I see this in text, so I've never had to pronounce it. So
I think Luna should be our arbiter on how to say it.
Fusy
Yeah.
Jello.
Wait, what?
Luna, however you say Fusage-Gillet is how we're gonna say it for the rest of this.
Super Fusy Chile.
All right, yep. You heard it here first, people.
official GBA temp decree. That's how you have to say it from now on.
With the super.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So right, they Nintendo has started putting out their first of two, I think, hardware revisions to kind of counter the whole homebrew piracy hacky scene. And the first one that we got is not the one with the new chip. What's that called again?
The Mariko.
The Mariko chip. This is not the one with the Mariko chip. This is just some other hardware revision that comes with firmware 4.1.0, it seems like. And it's to patch out Fusijili.
Yeah. And it doesn't... you can still hack it. It's fine, but it's not as hackable, basically.
Right.
So... And that's going to just throw everything on its head, because I bet people are going to be frantic now, because if you've been waiting to go buy a hack Switch, it might be time to get going. And we still don't know when the newer hardware revision that will just entirely put the kibosh on it is coming out, but we assume soon. I think Ars Technica said that it's coming out soon, but I don't know how much insider knowledge they would have. But it's definitely interesting because we can finally see Nintendo's trying to fight back. It's a little too late at this point, but they are trying to show that they don't want people pirating on their Switch.
Yeah.
I bet they'd be boosting their bottom line by like just hackers going out and buying the system before they can't hack it anymore. They go at the investor meeting to be like, "Yeah, relax, guys. You know,
This is how we reached our 20 million.
This is how they get their stock back." So, this only affects Fusejile. So, SXOS and any other exploit is still good, as far as I know.
As far as I'm aware, yeah, and according to what Michael said, it is still vulnerable to deja vu.
I've just been in this place before.
Higher on the streets, and I know it's my destiny.
I like how all of these like semi-pun things have been spaced 20 minutes apart from each other.
Have they?
Oh
Are we
my
on a
gosh.
timer?
I've been looking, yeah.
That's why she keeps herself on mute, because she's got a little egg timer in the background. Ding, ding, ding. Pun time.
Don't reveal my secrets.
So, onwards and upwards. Monster Hunter World got its PC port release date announced.
That's
And the
right.
specs.
August
Yeah.
9th,
Yes.
I think.
They're pretty good specs, honestly.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty high end. My PC, which used to be real good, is now just above middling. So that was quite the thing. I think I'm wanting to upgrade before I go for it. But honestly, the fact that Monster Hunter is coming to PC is kind of a big thing on its own. So
Right.
Have we ever had a Monster Hunter on PC officially?
nope.
No.
No, okay, so this is the first.
Yeah,
The closest
Nice.
had to that is people rigging up the PSP emulator to do
yeah.
ad hoc
Freedom
network.
Unite. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chary, that was the MMO.
What?
That was a Monster Hunter MMO back in the day.
Oh,
Still
right,
around.
that's a thing. That's just for Japan, though, but that does count, kind of.
It does. And, I mean, people from other regions did find a way to get in, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first mainline, real deal, put on Steam kind of Monster Hunter game, which is
Yes.
huge. And they're going with their biggest one. I wonder if
Yeah.
they're going to be bringing the other one, Generations, is it? The one that's coming to Switch, I don't know, maybe they'll try and bring that to PC too if World
Highly
does well.
I don't think they would. I really don't think they would try and split up their market between those two like that. I think they'll save Generations for the Switch and that demographic, and then World for the PC users. I mean, it fits in terms of what those games provide as well. World being this big, super AAA plus double star, open worldy, wow, we've got all the things now, and all the high graphical capabilities and next-gen particle effects on the hunter's toes, and so it's just so bring that to PC, and your more traditional what we've seen before just more can Monster Hunter with Generation XX can go to Switch and kind of satisfy those two demographics in a sense.
I just wonder if this does well, would we see future Monster Hunter games on PC, like mainline Monster Hunter games?
I could see it.
Yeah.
I mean, Capcom
I think
hasn't
we'll
been
go to
shy.
consoles, but yeah.
Yeah. Capcom
There was
really
a-
isn't shy about publishing games on Steam. So
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma was hugely received on PC. I think that's what it was. Dragon's Dogma? Yeah.
Was it?
And I think that kind of proved to them that PC is viable.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I think, and I'm sure all the people that have been waiting in the wings for Monster Hunter, they're going to be just freaking out when it launches. Although it is going to have Denuvo, so you've got all those people that are like, oh my gosh, Denuvo, no.
It is a mainly online-focused game, though, right?
It is, yeah.
So it doesn't
I
really
mean,
matter as much in that case. You have to be online anyways.
Right.
well, not everything that has Denuvo requires you to be always online to play it. Like Denuvo's in the original God
Isn't it
Eater.
single player as well?
Yeah. But you can actually set your Steam to offline and get rid of your internet connection. Like, just disconnect completely, and you'd still be able to run certain games. It's only specific games that were coded with Denuvo that you can't run offline, but things like God Eater Resurrection do work. I tested them, and they do work.
Yeah, I believe it
Wasn't the
just
perk
needs
of
to be
God Eater Resurrection that you could only play one or the other if you'd go online? Like, the first one you activated, and you'd have to go online to activate the other.
There was
It's like
something
an
weird
activation
with-
that was timed.
Yeah, there was some sort of weirdo timed activation. I think that was removed from one of the games that had it. But it was weird.
That is weird.
And I mean, there is precedence for Denuvo, like, making a game unplayable recently.
Yeah.
Semi-recently was Metal Gear Vengeance. That's
Wow.
only playable on Max.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Wait,
Which
what
is
happened with
kind of a
Revengeance?
shame. The Denuvo check for Mac. It's not supported anymore. I can't remember if it's the server
I
going down or
did hear
something,
about
but yeah.
that.
That'll
Yeah.
teach people the game on a Mac.
That's too bad.
Good one.
I love Revengeance. Revengeance is real good.
But yeah, I think Denuvo should really be used along the lines of dissuade people from pirating it at first. Once
And then,
people have
yeah.
cracked the Denuvo, they should just remove it.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it only affects the customer after that point, and it's like the
Seriously.
paying customer.
But I mean, I appreciate Denuvo. I know a lot of people on GBA 10 probably won't, but the way that it's like given games like Nier the chance to sell so many more copies than it would have if it pirated, because a lot of people were just like, I can't wait for Denuvo to crack and I'm just gonna buy it, fine. And so I think it is doing its job, because it's weak enough to be cracked, but it's also good enough to keep people out for the first few months of a game's sale.
I mean, I do
skeptical
like
on-
the idea of providing incentive to actually buy a game and support the devs. I think one of the more contentious pieces of Denuvo is the impact it has on your system and the performance, and there were a lot of instances of Denuvo that, like, did much worse things inside your system than others. Like, there were different
Wasn't
functions.
it only if you implemented it like really poorly?
Yeah, it was based
Yeah.
on implementation. Like a lot of developers just put the checks in like loading screens, so the game might take longer to load, but in runtime it runs fine. There are some games though, which they have it coded into runtime, and so it legitimately lags up gameplay because it's checking so often.
And there was some big issue with Assassin's Creed Origins where it had
No,
Origins, 2 DRMs checking
every
time
Origins
you
was
took a
because
step.
of VM Protect. Essentially, the entire game was running in a virtual machine just so that it would be uncrackable.
Oh.
And it was eventually cracked, but yeah, basically you had the game
Wasn't it practically
inside.
Yeah, it was cracked.
Listen, it was 3 DRMs. It was the game running inside Uplay, so you had to do a Uplay online check, and then it was running Denuvo, and the game inside a virtual machine under the Uplay banner. So it was 3 layers of stupid DRM, tank performance, as you can imagine. It was stupid.
I'm pretty sure CPY literally cracked it just to crack it, just to be like, screw you.
Yeah.
No, but even the crack was just like a workaround. They couldn't actually get rid of all that DRM, and so the game still doesn't run as good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. GG. Uplay strikes back.
Yeah.
More like you don't play.
Oh. Why are you laughing? That one was so weak. That was the weakest one we've had yet.
But it's accurate. It's so on the nose.
Oh gosh. Did the egg timer go off?
I think we're like
20 minutes?
I think we're like 5 minutes early.
Oh gosh.
You caught onto my egg timer. You caught onto my egg timer, so I've had to improvise.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Hooray for DRM. I'm still skeptical on whether or not, de novo actually helps. It does protect it for like a few weeks, maybe, but I don't know if that actually provides any tangible benefit or increases to sales.
It's all very nebulous. It's very hard to get an idea of that kind of thing just from data alone.
Like Witcher 3 sold like hotcakes, and that's because a lot of people just genuinely respect CD Projekt Red, and they're like, I won't pirate it because I respect the company. Good product, I'll buy it.
But if you didn't check, go ahead.
In some cases, people were like, oh, hey, I've played this for free. I'm going to actually buy the game to support them because this was actually cool.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of instances where I think there's some strong evidence that piracy could even bolster, a game sales. But I think it comes a lot down to, the demographic that's attracted to a certain kind of game. Because certain games attract certain kinds of people. You see demographics and age groups going towards certain directions and certain genres of games and game franchises in particular. So for something like CD Projekt Red and The Witcher 3, I think maybe just by way of their audience they could get away with not doing DRM and treating them like mature adults because they kind of were mature adults. Whereas something like Call of Duty, if they were to do that, people would pirate indiscriminately and the sales would probably tank a lot harder just by way of the demographic they're dealing with. So I think there's a lot of variance in there.
Yeah. But I mean, these are all like M-rated games, right? They would all have adult audiences behind them.
Yeah, but it's a matter of just always. Percentages. There's going to be all types of people liking all types of games. I don't want to generalize. It's just kind of, you do see skews.
Yeah. I guess it's just the kind of customers that come to a game company.
And also how the game company presents itself in general.
Yeah,
CD Projekt Red's accrued a lot of great PR over the years, so that can't really be ignored, whereas something like Warner Brothers, for example, is not very liked. Or if EA was,
Yeah.
Speaking of Witcher, the CD Projekt Red, they said today that they were thinking about making another Witcher game and that it's almost certain that they would in the future.
It's not particularly certain, it's just that they really want to. They said that their team is still like all primed and ready to go because they do want to still work on that property.
Right.
Yeah, what they did say was it wouldn't feature Geralt because Geralt's story was always meant to be a trilogy, and if by Blood and Wine, the last expansion for Witcher 3, Geralt's story basically comes to an end. He's retired, and so a lot of people are thinking that Witcher 4 might feature Ciri, his adopted daughter. And CD Projekt Red also said that it wouldn't be called Witcher 4 if it did come out, because Witcher was meant to be a trilogy, it wouldn't make sense, and so we might get a new Witcher game. That's for certain. It wouldn't be Witcher 4 and wouldn't have Geralt.
Right, but it would carry on the legacy.
I'd be interested in seeing where it goes and how it handles its writing without the influence of the books, right? Because the books are done, so they don't really have a literary source to draw from, so it's just going to be of them doing a fan.
The Witcher games are things that happen outside the books. The books exist by themselves, and then the Witcher games are all new stuff. So nothing's from the books in those games, just references to the book.
Yeah, and if you noticed our little pause there, one of our commentators, I'm not going to be naming names, decided to make a nice little pun, saying that would be seriously nice.
Dang it, Halo. Why do you have to distract us with your sick puns?
I'm so disappointed in you, Halo.
I'm sorry. Okay, I get excited when we talk about Witcher.
Alright.
CD Projekt Cyberpunk.
Oh, Cyberpunk.
It's Cyberpunk.
I think, wasn't it just their game wasn't even playable at E3? It was just
It was.
literally the...
It was just like
it was?
Oh, was
It
it?
was
Behind
behind
closed
closed
doors.
doors. They got
right.
like half an hour demo with it.
That's an interesting game.
Yeah, the game's still like a few years off, I'd say, or they said it, but maybe that means a year or two. I don't know, but soon.
Yeah, and basically all the people excited for that are excited purely on the premise that it's done by the Witcher studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is proof to show that, man, if you get a fan base going, they will support you to the ends of the earth.
Mm-hmm. Also, people are expecting, solid writing and gameplay, like that studio's been known for. So, there's a couple things surrounding that, the demo that was shown off. Recently, there was a journalist that leaked audio from the demo, and he was just completely flayed by, CDPR. Did you hear about that?
I heard a little bit by it, but I didn't hear the fallout of it, like what happened to the dude. I know people were pissed, though.
So, originally, the video, because he uploaded it as a YouTube video, got copy striked. After that, CD Projekt Red just gave a statement, I think, and it's very clear he's blacklisted now from ever. Yeah. But then I think the journalist went back on the YouTube channel and got super pissed, saying that, he was doing quality journalism. Then he started insulting a bunch of people who were, saying, that's unethical because he never signed an NDA. And then, literally in the video, he says that he's pissed that the video got copy striked because he didn't get the views, because they would have made a lot of money.
Wow.
Although, that kind of does bring up an interesting point, right? If he wasn't NDA'd, what falls under fair reporting in that case? I mean, was he specifically shown this footage and this audio as a reporter, or did he happen upon it? Was this a matter of...
He was invited.
Okay, so if he was invited as a reporter for being a reporter, and he was given certain information and not made to sign an NDA, then would he... I
think it was just implicit trust.
Well, that's not...
I think in future closed door things related to CD Projekt Red, you're going to see NDAs as a result of this.
Well, it should.
It's an interesting thing because when I was at all the things for Xseed or Bandai Namco at E3, they said, please don't take footage.
Yeah, I think that's what they said to the journalist that came there as well.
A legally binding agreement. That's just, what if I didn't hear you? What if you said that too early? I don't know. You could argue that.
Yeah.
And that's not legally, he can't get in trouble legally for it. He can get flayed and banned and barred and hated for it, but
yeah. Right.
It's not illegal.
Yeah, blacklisting is fine. However, what he brought up about the views, they are messing... Well, not only are they using copyright law to take down the video, which is getting legal with things, they need to have a solid right to be able to do that, a copyright, they are also messing with his direct revenue. So if there was nothing legal or explicit saying you shouldn't be showing this or revealing this or reporting on this, you reporter who reports you should not be reporting on this, then... messing with his monetary income, as well as, exploiting a copyright system where they might not have the right to do so, would be relevant. So it kind of would make sense if he started talking about his views in the video, because that's part of what escalates the situation. Granted, I'm only hearing about this now, so... But
yeah.
I'm just saying, there would have to be some sort of explicit situation where if he was invited to a showing for game information and he's a games journalist, they should be able to tell him, don't do this, here, sign this saying you won't do this. NDAs are not aggressive or controlling. They're precautionary and they're,
Yeah. Yeah, it's normally a journalist wouldn't do it, just so that they don't breach trust with a company that they probably want to do more business with. That still doesn't give anyone any license to, copy strike a video, like you said. I believe after that happened, they did apologize. They got rid of the strike, but by then the damage was done. I guess they just wanted to get that video taken down as soon as possible. But it's the internet. Of course, people downloaded it, and then people re-uploaded it. It was everywhere.
No, I bet. You can't kill something. Once it's on the internet once, you cannot kill it.
Yeah. So I think there was also a letter sent. A CDPR representative sent the journalist a letter that said, "Hey, can you please take this video down?" But before he got a chance to even respond to the email, the video was already copy strike. And that's how that all spiraled out.
Of course, I'm curious what he was invited for in the first place, if not to report on games information. You know what I mean?
So what they were allowed to do is they came to a closed room to play the demo, and then afterwards they were allowed to just talk about it and talk about whatever they want. They could talk about what they saw. It's just people couldn't record any footage of it. But he decided to record audio. And he said that he had his phone out. But, what that means isn't entirely clear. Did he have his phone out, on the desk, or was he just, holding it at the side of his hip where it would be kind of inconspicuous?
So, I mean, that's something like what I was talking about with the explicit rules. If they said, here's what you're allowed, you can talk about what you saw, but you can't bring out any of the material that we give you, then they would have some place to, mess with him after he releases that stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I wonder what the exact situations of that were, whether or not they did explicitly tell him what the instructions were, how they planned to handle the situation, and how clear they were when they set things up. I don't know.
Yeah, and you're basically sure that at future closed-door events, they're going to do something like that now.
Yeah, and that's probably going to affect every company now, because they're all going to be a bit on edge.
Yeah. I don't know, that's potential fallout.
But not the good kind of fallout.
There's
the always online.
No.
No.
You don't want to go there.
It's definitely not Fallout 4. So, I think that caps off everything we wanted to talk about.
I think so.
That's the jam, yeah.
And we're just at an hour and 20 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
So do we want to just kind of wrap this up? Anybody got some errant thoughts that they want to squeeze off onto the audience before we...
Anyone? Any last second puns? Anything?
Oh, no. My egg timer has not gone off yet, unfortunately.
Aww.
We gotta drag this out for 3 more minutes just for the egg timer to go out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're exaggerating.
There it is. We did it. Welcome.
Round of applause.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, you crack us up.
Oh, no, that's it. I'm stopping the recording before this gets out of hand.
All right. So do we give a sign off? Thank you for watching kind of business. All right.
Well, it's been fun.
It has been. I hope everyone enjoys this. I hope you guys want to see more of this. Be sure to leave comments saying where we failed, how many more puns you'd like in the next one, and like the post if you want me to go smash Luna's egg timer.
Oh my, no.
No, but the puns. Leave comments, maybe asking some questions we could go through. Field some community popular questions that we might want to talk about and discuss. If there's any, topics you want us to tackle specifically, suggest those. Get involved with discussion. We want to have a, back and forth. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. And so hopefully we'll see that from you guys when we post it, and we're gonna go edit it, and you'll see it soon. And if you're listening to it, you already see it.
Oh my goodness, that is how that
works.
Well,
if you're listening to it, are you really seeing it?
Is this time travel?
Is this real life?
Is this Metal Gear?
All right, guys. We're gonna Cricket, cricket.
What, was that not the cutoff
Always
point?
been
I was trying to make a clean
what?
cutoff for the audio. Are we not cut off? Is that...
No, I wanted to see how long that silence would go.
I was trying to be professional about things.
All right, hello, Blooper Reel.
Yeah, really. Oh,
Oh.
Jesus.
Okay. I've stopped recording.
Okay.
Now where can I buy a new egg